What we often do is we let our brain be the manager, and then we are the secretary. We just execute what the brain tells us is normal, is the way to be, is how we should think. We want that reversed. Welcome back, everybody. Here we go, week 2 in weight loss mindset. I am so excited because I got some motivation, some inspiration for you today. Okay, so last week, for those of you all who were here, we talked about thoughts versus circumstances, and that's really important distinction. So if you missed it, go back and watch that video because it's going to help a lot as we move forward. This week, we're going to talk about who's the boss, you or your mind. And I know I've touched on this in the past, but I wanted to revisit it in this scenario right here because a lot of times we think we're at the mercy of our minds. Part of what we do in our lives, we are taught that our brain runs everything. And in some sense, biologically, it does. Your brain runs your heart function and coordinates all kinds of things in your body. But as far as your thinking is concerned, the thing that distinguishes us from all other animals and organisms is that we have the ability to think and plan in advance. We have this higher function that other organisms do not have in the same way. So we get to control our thoughts. And I think that's a really important thing to know because a lot of times we feel we're at the mercy of our thoughts. The thoughts come, they produce emotions, we feel anxious, we feel guilty, we feel sad, we feel all these things, and we think we have no choice. But we do. Now, I'm not saying that's easy. It's not always easy. What it is really a choice. And it takes practice. But if you know that you have control over your thoughts, that the thoughts you think are optional, then you can decide whether or not those thoughts are ones that you want to keep or whether they're ones you want to let go. Okay, so it does take practice, it does take some work, because when your mind is used to thinking in a certain way, your mind wants to be efficient no matter what. So if you're used to thinking negative thoughts about the number on the scale, and that makes you feel depressed or anxious or frustrated, then every time you get ready to get on that scale and that brain starts offering those same thoughts, those same feelings come, okay? So learning to think on purpose, where you have thoughts that say, I'm going to stick with this no matter what. I am going to love myself through this. I am committed to doing this. Those are thoughts that it doesn't matter what the number says that particular day, you are going to have a different emotion than you do if you use the original thoughts that you practiced for so long. And it's not that your mind won't offer them up, because they probably will, and you'll hear those same old thoughts. But the difference is you'll be onto it. You'll go, yeah, I remember that thought, and I'm in charge. That's that old thinking. The way I like to think about it is this. Your brain is an excellent secretary. It's a very poor manager, okay? What we often do is we let our brain be the manager, and then we are the secretary. We just execute what the brain tells us is normal, is the way to be, is how we should think. We want that reversed. Our brain is an excellent secretary. When we have situations come up, I was just coaching somebody today where she had a situation come up in her life that she'd had something similar in the past, and her thinking was, here we go again. And she remembers it as a difficult, painful experience and anticipates that this time it's going to be the same. But what I had to help her see is that's optional. She can choose to think about this situation however she wants. But her brain wants to be efficient and says, oh yeah, remember that last time? Here's the file. Here's the file. Remember this happened, here's the file. And it reminds you of the experiences you've had. But that doesn't mean that has to be that way this time. Especially because now you know something you didn't know then. That you can choose how you think. So, What I want you to think is, if the secretary offers you a file, a thought that is not useful to you, you can just gently say thank you, but we're thinking about this differently this time. This is how I want you to think about it now. And you might have to remind your brain and remind your brain and remind your brain, because your brain is trying to be efficient and the old thought is easier. Okay? So practice that. Practice noticing the thoughts and remembering. They're just offerings from your brain. They're not the end of the line. They're not the answer. You are the manager. You get to be in charge, and your brain needs to be the secretary. So you decide, who do you want to be the boss? You or your mind? Thank you for being here. I will see you all again next week. We have more good stuff coming up about mind management, how to get this brain to be able to do what we want it to do to help us in our weight loss. I'll see you next time. Bye.